My name is Joan Maxwell, and about almost 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I got a call from my doctor on Christmas Eve telling me the exciting news, which I wouldn't advise that doctors do. But anyway, um, after my double mastectomy, I had a staph infection, and to make a long story short, over the course of about 2 years, I had 9 surgeries. So I came to this experience from the fashion world where I had had really no experience in the world of healthcare. But in the world of fashion, I worked for a company called Vera Bradley, and we were very customer focused and spent a lot of our time finding out what our customers wanted and how we could make their experience better, whether they were visiting us online or in stores. And I couldn't help but lay in my hospital bed and feel like that would be a good idea for hospitals to do the same thing, to actually ask their patients what would help improve that experience and what kind of communication I might like and when might I like it and from whom, and that I could learn so much more and be so much more comfortable if they took a patient focused approach in the same way that in the fashion industry we took a consumer oriented approach. So that's what kind of started me on the journey to becoming a patient advisor. At the time, the hospital that I was having all my procedures in was starting a patient family advisory group. And I had made so many suggestions, I think they just asked me if I would like to be part of that group. And so I started that as a member of that group about 4 years ago. And through that experience, I got involved on a national level. And I have to say, I'm really passionate about working together with people in the healthcare industry to transform healthcare. Well, for our family, and I certainly know that this isn't unique. My brother-in-law has an opioid use disorder, which developed after 2 failed back surgeries. And started that journey about 7 years ago. And I guess the thing that I want people to know is it's a lifetime journey. So when that happens, it transforms not only his life, but of course it ripples out to our family and then beyond that to his friends, the people he works with, to everyone. And so everything that we can do to help prevent that happening is critically important, and everything we can do to support those people is critically important. I think it's absolutely essential and critical that we have better education because myself, as a good example, I really didn't know the proper way to use opioids, and I also didn't know where or how to dispose of them. And I was often left with, as I think many people are, a significant amount of opioids. And now we all realize that that's a very serious risk. But if you don't know how to dispose of it, then I think you might dispose of it incorrectly or in many cases not dispose of it. So I think education is critical. I also think there are a lot of myths around opioids that need to be dispelled. Like I said, my family was telling me, stay ahead of the pain. You know, that is not necessarily the right thing to do. So what was the right thing to do? If I had been educated about that, it would have made a big difference. So it's a huge opportunity and it's critically important. Well, I think as patient advisors, we have to live in the real world. And in the real world of healthcare, cost is critically important. And so I think if, we come up with ideas that don't consider that factor, we're missing an opportunity. So we have to really be responsible in how we think about transforming healthcare. We have to be realistic. And I think that we have to be really true partners. So as we, for example, work on plans for patient safety regarding opioid use, we have to really think about how much time it takes and who's going to do it and what's the benefit, and make sure that we come up with a responsible plan. And I think that's possible, but it's important to consider the cost along with everything else. I'm a big fan of being inclusive. I think it's critically important. Let's use, opioid policies as an example, that pharmacists be included in the conversation. I think it's critical, as I mentioned before, that doctors be in the room. I am a huge fan of how much nurses can contribute to the conversation. Social workers, physical therapy, other alternate pain management is so important these days. So I love when we get everyone together, especially at the beginning of the conversation. And then once we kind of have a direction, maybe you can narrow it down to the people that are actually going to put that plan into action. But in that initial conversation, there's so much value in all those voices at the table. And of course, don't forget the patient. I almost forgot. I had 9 surgeries. I was prescribed opioids 9 times, and I was never explained to about what they were for or even that they were opioids. I'm quite sure that doctors and healthcare professionals underestimate what patients know about opioids. So if you see a prescription for Norco, you don't even know what it is. So there's a huge opportunity for us to work together to educate people in advance so that they can be active participants in their care, in their pain management, and that opioids can just be one piece of that puzzle, and a piece that they understand and that they know how to manage and have confidence to manage. But without education, patients don't have the ability to do that. So we have to work together to establish policies that give us time prior to surgery for those conversations to take place. I want to convince you to allow doctors to spend 15 more minutes with patients in their office prior to surgery, having an educational conversation about pain management post-surgery. If we don't, as patients, understand that we're being prescribed opioids or given IV opioids, we can't help take charge of managing the long-term effects. There are lots of different ways that we can manage our pain post-surgery, but we need to be given those choices and we need to be part of the conversation. So let's make time for that conversation with the doctor. Actually, I think it's so interesting what helped me when I had my surgeries, and often it really wasn't the medication. I mean, just the placement of pillows under my arms that helped me with drains that I had and helped me stay comfortable. I mean, it made a dramatic difference in how I felt. Somebody brought me some lavender scent for my room, and everyone that walked into my room said, "Oh my gosh, it doesn't smell like a hospital in here." And it didn't. It smelled so nice and just kind of made me happy. And, every once in a while the nurses would bring me a warm blanket, and I am not kidding you. It was like bringing me a present. Like they could have brought me like a big, beautiful wrapped present from Tiffany's, and I don't think I would have been any happier than getting that warm blanket. So, like every speech I give at the hospital, I always say, like, I don't care what the budget is, you can never stop giving the warm blankets, because they just are such a, like, special thing for patients and make you feel better. And it just, those little things make a big difference. And I'm not saying that, right after a 7-hour surgery, you're, going to be happy with a warm blanket. You will need more for sure. But I can't also emphasize how much better those little things do make you feel. And it's not just the blanket, but I think it's also feeling cared for. It's that somebody thought about me and thought, what would she like right now? Maybe, I can do something special for her. And that like meant so much to me. It really touched me and I loved it. And so I would encourage everybody to not forget about the warm blankets. Patients don't know. Like we don't even know what opioids are. Like we have no idea how to properly take them or whether we should or shouldn't. Like what kind, how, I mean, to this day, I'm not even exactly sure. Like if I'm not in a lot of pain, should I still take it? Shouldn't I take it? What are the potential effects? What should I be looking out for? All of those things, like we just aren't educated about that. Where would we get that education? We don't go to med school. We don't go to nursing school. They don't teach it in high school. We don't have any of this information unless, I guess, I read the thing that I get from the pharmacy that's, this long and print this big that says a bunch of stuff. No one reads that. So who is the person that's going to tell me what to do? That's what we need. Who's going to educate me and say what's going to happen when and how I should think about this and how I should make good decisions and when should I call the doctor or someone else? Who should I call to ask a question and not feel like bad or stupid, but feel like I have a partner. I want a partner. Everyone should have a partner. It will make a difference. So I hope your students will become those partners for patients in the future. I'm sure they will. I'm counting on them.